You see that?
It's party time at Editor Extensions. All right, so uh, yeah, so usually when we do a recording, we kind of start it off with, "Hey, this is what the meeting's about." Angela, do you want to take that away?
Yeah, sure. So I guess a little bit of background built in as a little personal side project. I built an extension that utilizes LSP, and I hooked it up to JetBrains specifically using their LSP API. That is, I think it's considered experimental right now, but we're exploring the viability of that. That's kind of like the main goal, but also talk about what John did for his POC, if you want to do that, John. And then, yeah, go from there, see where the conversation takes us. I know Ali had some questions on like how we got or at least how I got my binary into the extension, like the build binary, the LSP server in there. So we can go over all that stuff. And then also there's some source code that I can show you. So yeah, if you want, I can do a little demo so you guys even know what I'm talking about. And then um, we can go from there. So let me just share. Let me know if you guys see my screen. Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So let me just do a quick demo for you guys. So it's called DoesItThrow. So it's like it basically parses your JavaScript AST and checks whether or not you're properly handling exceptions, basically, try catching them. So a super simple example, let me just make sure it's installed. So it's just on the marketplace here. And let me just make sure the language server is running. I don't see it's running. I think
Nice logo.
yeah, I generated it with Dolly. I'm not that good of an artist, but yeah, it took a while to get that actually. It was pretty funny. But yeah, so if we go here, let me open up just like a test fixture. So it should launch the server now. Yeah, so it launches on like the proper file. So you can see here, we got the language server here. And how it works is like if I write a new function, like function test, like this, and I throw an error, it like basically parses AST pretty fast and shows you, whether you have an error. And it can go through some pretty complex ASTs. So like, let me show a class example. So here you can see like, if you're calling a method from another method, you can see that it's throwing because this method here is not actually caught. But if I wrap this in like a try, for instance, I'll move this here and catch. You can see here it's like satisfied. So that's kind of like what the plugin does, but that's not the point of this meeting. It's kind of like, okay, so this works for VS Code. How did I get it working for JetBrains? So any questions so far? Good so far?
Looks good.
Okay, cool. So basically, I created a new folder under JetBrains. So I'll go to the VS Code because it looks a little better, the file tree. So under this folder here, JetBrains, I just created a new JetBrains project using their existing, it's like a template on GitHub that they provide. I'm sure you guys are aware. And then from there, set up all the build settings. This took kind of a while. And so before we go into that, just to show you how the binary actually gets to where it needs to be. So I have this build script here, and I'll send this repo after if you guys want to check it out. It uses bun under the hood. Sorry, I'm moving this window out of the way. So it uses bun under the hood and basically runs through actually compiling the Rust code into WASM, actually the node server that uses the WASM. So it kind of builds everything, and then it basically creates a binary at the end of the day. So if I run sorry, npm run build, which is the build script here. Build. This is kind of really the secret sauce of the project. And then under here, we'll have a, actually it uses the path. So I'll show you guys that in a second. But under, what is it? Server here. And then under out, you can see this is like the generated WASM. That's like all the Rust code, specific like business logic code. And then the LSP server is actually just a regular node server, just like ours. That's bundled up and compiled and added here. So this is considered the binary, quote unquote. I know our LSP server is like a real binary, like an executable. So this might be a little bit different, which might be a gotcha. But yeah, so it generates this. And then if I go to JetBrains now, so let me move sorry, I'm moving the Zoom window. I don't know if you guys can see my Zoom window. So here we have the JetBrains project. I'm just going to minimize this. So we have the JetBrains project here. And just to walk through it a little bit, how it works is there's this, I don't know, we're not using LSP currently in the Duo chat or in the Duo plugin, correct, John, Ollie?
No.
No, okay, cool. So a lot of this pattern is just following the existing, what's already out there. So I showed this to John, actually. It's called LSP JetBrains. If you go to their blog posts, it's like kind of one way of finding it. You can go to, I usually search example. Yep, so if you look at the docs here, they have like this Prisma ORM as an example, but if you go here, and I can send this link to the chat as well, so you guys can pull it up. So they have this link here, and you can see all the different plugins that are currently using the LSP server. So here's mine right here, and then a lot of them are maintained by JetBrains themselves. So I think Prisma actually JetBrains maintains, but there's other ones that use LSP. So then you can just go to any one of these and then see the repository and then look through the code. So that's what I did, is I mimicked what was already out there. So created main folder. I'm pretty sure this already exists for the Duo plugin and whatnot. But I created this new LSP folder, and they have two concepts that they, I guess, employ for the LSP. And so the way that they structured it is they have this thing called project-wide LSP server descriptor. And this is kind of like the main contract or abstract class that you would inherit, and you would override whatever, specific logic that you need and implement it, as needed. So as you guys know, there's like client capabilities. So this is just my plugin only uses really diagnostics and some workspace configuration. So that's basically what I did here. And then these, like the workspace configuration, I'm not sure if this actually comes from any user settings, but when I get the workspace configuration here, this pulls through an instance, and we can go through that if you guys want. But yeah, these are mostly a lot of the already existing LSP, I don't know how to say it, like existing, what you would expect in like a VS Code LSP type that you would use. And then also it's got like a supported file. This is like basically some of the contract methods that they expect you to implement yourself. And so actually spinning up the LSP server is done through, let me see. This is one aspect. So you can see here, we have this create command line. So this create command line, first JetBrains provides their own API for getting a Node.js interpreter. We'd have to see, since ours is not like WASM or Node.js based, like LSP server, like it's not a JavaScript file. I'm pretty sure it's executable. Let me know if I'm wrong, John. But yeah, because this is a JavaScript file, that's where we're importing this API, and this is provided directly by JetBrains. So you can see here it's coming from this here, this API here. And so yeah, basically it's pretty simple. It gets the plugin directory through some of the APIs they provide, and then under here we have language server and server.js. So how do I get this actually there? That's done in the Gradle properties. Sorry, not Gradle properties. The is it build? Yeah, build.gradle. So I'm not like an expert in Kotlin, but I'm pretty sure this is kind of like the script that they use to build everything. And so what I'm doing for getting the actual binary, quote unquote, is just through this logic here when you prepare the sandbox. So you had to have the binary actually built first in the correct folder, and then it just takes that and puts it into the actual packaged plugin directory. So if you look at the build here and you go to, I think it's maybe it's one of these. Yes, no, this is just the source code. It's one of these folders where the actual build is. Okay, plugins, here it is. So it actually puts the all the assets into this folder here. And so when the plugin actually starts and it runs this method here. Where is it? Sorry, trying to find it. When it runs this method here, this is the path. So it's not really that smart. It's kind of hacky, but it works. And so yeah, so this is how like the binary is actually loaded. And then where this is used, I think this is just used as part of like the factory method. So when you or factory function. So when we look at the project again, where is, sorry, here we go. So LSP. So now we have this support provider. So this is just following what is already existing out there, but this is kind of like the what actually creates the LSP instance. So yeah, so it just gets the interpreter, and then whether it's the correct file type, which is done in like just a utils class that I made, and then this ensure server started, and then you basically inject your version of whatever the descriptor is for the LSP. And then we can kind of go into this, but I don't know if that's a lot or if you guys already seen this.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
That Node.js interpreter manager, what is that doing? Is that an interface to talk to a locally installed Node.js?
I think so. I think I don't know if JetBrains bundles Node in itself, because this is a good question that I think John was also asking. Because yeah, I don't know how they get Node into the machine, or if you're like required to have Node, and then if you don't have Node, it prompts you. So I have to try that out. But it's definitely an API they provide, this Node.js interpreter manager. So yeah, I don't know. But also it begs the question, like, what if you have an incompatible Node version installed locally? So that's like a good, I guess, to-do question to see what Node version they're using or how they're packaging Node in. Also, I don't know. Is this even relevant to us though? Because we're building it as an executable, or was there ever talk to use like Node directly for LSPs?
I'm not too sure how the LSP works. It is in TypeScript. So if it was possible, if the IDE had a node interpreter in it, I feel like it might make our lives easier because we wouldn't have to package the executable for different platforms. That's my thinking.
And also, one thing that I was thinking as well for that is if we ever wanted to, let's say, I'm like a Rust fanboy, but let's say you wanted to get native performance in the language server, like being able to compile to WASM will allow you to like allow you to have the native performance, but skip like building for every single platform there is. Because if you do it like the old fashioned way, of like compiling an actual native program, like you guys know, it's like you get into like that giant platform matrix. But
Yeah.
so,
I looked up real quick to see what supported Node.js versions they have for their interpreter. So they stop at Node 18, which is pretty recent and probably covers everything that we're doing.
yeah.
I think the latest LTS is something like 20. So I just was going to see what they've got set up uh, on the language server project. I'll
Yeah.
check that out on Gradle.
Yeah, that'd be good. And then I don't know. I think we should check whether or not I should go into this source code since we are recording. So because you have to assign JetBrains agreement before you look at any of the source code. So you guys let me know
Oh,
whether or not.
that's a good question. Yeah. I think one of the things that I'm interested in, because I do know that we run into the problem of, so I believe this is kind of the same problem where going this direction is still tied to it only being ultimate editions of the IDE. There's no community editions that support this. I think that the JS interpreter could be supported, but the actual LSP integration is still
In the area.
yeah, it's still part of you have to. I think they even like I was looking how they do the installation, and it's essentially yes, you need a package that's only going to be implemented that has interfaces for things that are only going to be implemented by the ultimate editions of the IDE. The one thing that I think I was really interested in though was yeah, maybe this is part of the descriptor. So I don't know if we can jump into that code, because I was kind of wondering, so if you ran into the position, if you still wanted to run the LSP completely independently or like a sub process or something, could you set up would this support just reading from a stream to essentially say, hey, yeah, you can write to this stream for the LSP and you can read from this stream for the LSP, but we're also going to do some other things that maybe this doesn't support yet. Because that's the other thing is we kind of have things that are happening on the LSP that are our language server that aren't specifically LSP stuff. And we were kind of going.
What's an example of that?
That's a really good question. Let me find something. Some of the like for instance, we do like token validations and stuff like that, where we're going to send notifications back down to the client, which in our case would be the IDE, to say, hey, the token that you've said is not valid. Here's some things you can do to make it, and so we want to be able to send, here's notifications. Now, some of that's LSP related so that you can technically have a way of sending notifications back down to a client. But I know we aren't using the protocol for every notification. And so we'd still want to be able to respond to those. And I'm not sure if, because I really do like the idea of saying, hey, we've implemented all this stuff that JetBrains can kind of just do, we get for free because they've implemented everything, but then we can still have a slice of the same language server that we get to use for ourselves for other services. Because I think one of the goals and the way it was kind of pitched to me when I first joined, and something that I've kind of kept that I've really liked has been, hey, the language server is sort of our is the brains of the entirety of the operation, and the clients end up being a lot of glue code between the internals of the IDE and the language server. So essentially, that language server becomes our bridge between. We would never usually, and we do this today in every one of the IDEs. We make direct calls to like the monolith, or direct calls to the API, the gateway for the AI gateway. But the goal should be that we're not doing those direct calls. That's happening in the language server. Even for things that aren't necessarily language server specific.
I also I also know that for this specific stuff, if we go like they're like utilizing their LSP, contract in this way, I know that you can inject, I've seen it at least on other projects, people injecting custom LSP4j instances into this descriptor. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think I've seen that, which means like we can do the special stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
You implement the, the JSON RPC, whatever stuff that you're trying, whatever, I forget what they're called, like that protocol type. So I'm just saying I've seen that before, but again, I think like the main question is like whether or not to go the custom LSP route so that all editions can be supported, or if like Ultimate is only the thing. I don't know. It's a really good question.
And I know, Ali, you've been in more of these conversations than I think anybody. But I do know that there is a heavy desire, and I think it's sort of been settled that we do want to support community editions.
Yeah, for sure we do.
So that does kind of limit us. I mean, we can use this as like a, I mean, I wish maybe we can get access to things like this descriptor and stuff, because it would be really cool to even say, hey, this is the standard, this is the direction that JetBrains is going in. Could we use that interface for how like the descriptor works? And then we can implement our own stuff to fill in some of the gaps. But then if they open it up, in 6 months to say, all right, it's community editions now have language server support, it's a really simple MR to flip it over to their side.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach, like modeling it after their already existing API, right? And then kind of going from there, seeing what also what Dasha comes back with from their PM.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but that's basically it. Let me know if you guys have any other questions, like on the project, Kofi, if you have anything. It's definitely like a lot. But yeah, that's basic.
I think this is a super cool project. I mean, and I love that. I love that you went all in with Rust. And I
mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but like even though that it's like it's a node server running, the memory footprint's pretty low from what I measured. It was like 40 megabytes at that. But like this, just like the speed, and this is like not even like cache without like all this is like a new. Anytime you open one of these files, these are like it's running it over again, and it's like pretty fast. Like it's indistinguishable for.
And you were showing me, so just to praise the speed a little more, you were showing me how it does a recursive recursive grabbing of all of the dependencies based on imports. So it technically, when you open a file, it's going to go open up all the related files as well and do AST generation.
Yeah, so it's called import. I mean, we can pivot if you guys want to pivot to that topic, but yeah, basically it in order, so like if you look, I call it imported identifiers. So right now it only does relative files, but like the main server, and this is all Node for the most part, this logic. But what it'll do is, so it'll parse the file, so it'll run the actual Rust code. So all of the AST logic uses SWC under the hood to do the parsing, and then like this is just like actually analyzing all the code here, and then it returns back this import usage collector. And this is like a data structure to show like, oh, here are all the imports for JavaScript. And then the server, because it's using Serde, I think. I forget what I use. I think it's using Serde under the hood to like serialize and deserialize. But it comes back as a JavaScript object. So if you look here, and, like I have this analysis, this like parse result comes from like the WASM that I built. So whenever you build the WASM, you get this TypeScript type, which is really nice. And then this is the actual data that comes back from the Rust code, if you will. This is the data structure. And then it'll basically, if it sees that there's any relative imports, it'll find the first file. So it'll go through TS, JS, JSX, TSX, because you can only import from one. And then resolve that file, and then run the same analysis over again, basically. And then it collects all of that logic, and then it publishes the diagnostics. So that's what it does here. So that's how I'm like, if you go to, I think I called it something, but where it's one of these files. Let me find it, where we actually import stuff. So you can see here, like this here, it's like a function that's imported that actually might throw. And then this is like the result file. So like this could be pretty cool if like we did the same thing for, like there's so many use cases you can do for like code suggestions that like Copilot does not do for that right now. But like that would be a game changer. Like
I know that there's an issue somewhere where we are looking into wanting to do like, hey, we want to be able to expand that context for, and the best, we've talked about like, hey, we've got a big project, you're probably going to have the context for a single file is actually multiple files because you're importing something and you've got maybe an interface you've imported, and you definitely need to grow that context window. And this could be something that's really pretty cool for that. I know that's a little off topic from just LS.
So this issue is where we're starting to look at increasing the context. I think the approach we're using at first is just loading other files that you have open in the editor. But we can totally later do the approach of adding whatever you import as more context.
Yeah, that's super cool. I don't know if we can find a generic way of doing those, like being able to find, because like with tree sitter, we could say, oh, this is an import statement. But for instance, like in C#, your import statements aren't file based, they're namespace based, and you can namespace anything any way you want.
Well, I think like I don't know, as a game changer against Copilot would be something like being able to have a smart enough Copilot that actually does that heavy lifting for you. Because if you do, like, I'm pretty sure this is what Copilot, from when I used it, like sometimes I'll be writing like a just test and it'll get it right. And it's like using the context from whatever source code I'm testing sometimes, but it's not like foolproof. But imagine you had like some type of keyboard shortcut that you pressed. This is just something I would like as a developer, like, oh, like press some command and then it like gives you an option to, and then it resolves the import. And then it's like, oh, do you want to use this code as like context? And then it gives you like a suggestion. That would be sick. But it's doable if you have a proper like AST. But the problem is you'd have to do like implementation for each, like you said, each language. But sometimes a low-hanging fruit is good like that. I don't know.
Well, I
And that's
wonder if
yeah.
someone's done that already as part of some sort of static analysis or something like that.
I would imagine that there's static analysis for finding dependencies because I know people do like repository maps and stuff. I'd imagine that we could find something almost for every major supported language.
Yep. Yeah.
I would think so. I haven't done that research, but I'm pretty sure it exists.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, and then imagine you applied the recursive thing that you're talking about, John. Like just recursively add the context. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know if I guess we'll just wait to hear back from Dasha on the LSP side of things for JetBrains. But I don't know, Ali, did you have any other questions for like the JetBrains side of things on how we implemented it?
No, I think that was super useful to look at. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just all like what I kind of painfully went through. Like talking to their developer. I think his name is Alex something on the JetBrains channel. They have like their own Slack that you can join. So cool. Yeah, I don't know if you want to stop sharing, John.
Yeah, I'll turn off the recording.
Cool. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, you're actually recording, Angela.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll do it. All right, bye.
All right.